Free folks, I'm Freedom Rain, and today we're going to be doing some reactions. I got my screen right here. Today we're going to be looking at the police. So in this video I'm going to go over some things that I learned. We're going to talk about some laws and some statutes and things that can and can't be done by the police to prove your innocence or your guilt. If I'm looking at the houses in the surrounding area, this looks like an, more affluent neighborhood. And we see these brothers in this car here. It looks like he's following all the rules. He's going to reasonable speeds. So you got to understand, as soon as those lights get behind you, a lot of cops don't know that immediately black people, all people, but especially black people, especially in an affluent neighborhood, their heart is pounding. All types of emotions are going through them. So now we see the sirens. And they flashed in the lights on them. Okay, now we got audio. They pulled over very immediately. Very safe and quick stop. The officers are going to approach. See if we get some body cam footage, or if it's just gonna be dash cam. We got two. Oh yeah, we got some there. We got some body cam. All right, they're approaching. His window is down.
What's going on, guys?
Okay.
Not much.
He's got his hands very visible. That's good.
How you doing, officer?
Is this your car?
He said, "How you doing, officer?"
What's a rent
And immediately the officer says, "Is this your
What's
car?"
a rent right now? My car.
Okay. Did something break down?
Yes, sir.
Gotcha. You guys just came from over the park, right?
Yeah, we're just hanging out.
Just hanging out.
That's it.
That's it.
That's what
Is this
So okay. Now, we don't know why he's pulling him over. He hasn't told us why if he was called, if he just saw him do a traffic violation. He knows he was at the park. So that's kind of weird already.
your car?
He asked him again if this is his car.
Officer, this is a rental.
This is a rental.
How do you start it?
What do you mean?
How
I
do you
just put on a brake.
What do you mean? See, now this is something you gotta be really careful of. Police are never just asking questions to ask questions. They're always fishing for more. There's always things behind it. So what he's trying to do, first of all, is he's checking his body language, seeing how he responds to questions, seeing if he's nervous, but then he's also seeing if he's familiar with the car. And if he doesn't seem like it, the officer's gonna have a reason to suspect that he either stole the car or that, even though it's a rental, you might not be familiar with it, but so let's keep going.
Okay. So it's your car, though? Did they give you a fob or something?
My car, officer.
Did they give you a key fob or something? Or
Listen, officer.
like, what does it do?
Show
What is
it
it?
to
You
Don't
see,
give it to
this-
him. Don't
this
give it
let- This that should let you know that it's
Oh, look at his face. He know he done messed up. He know he ain't getting them keys back. He was like, damn. He said, why'd I do that? Oh, God.
Okay. Do you have any weapons on you or in the car?
no, officer.
No,
Okay,
officer.
can I be honest with you?
Hands over.
It smells like marijuana in the car, and I can see shake on the ground. And
Now, see, the smell of marijuana is a reason they often give because they can bypass having a warrant or needing your permission because they have probable cause. They use this excuse all the time. It's really hard to disprove, especially on body cam footage, because you can't smell the footage. And it's more than likely they're going to take the officer's word for it.
your buddy's giving me the idea that maybe he's got a gun.
Your buddy's giving me the idea that maybe he's got a gun.
You know what I mean? Like, that's what I think.
How?
I don't know.
How?
Just the way. I mean, just the way you're holding yourself, man. Like,
Just the way you're holding yourself, man. Your friend is giving me the idea because his hands are visible too. Both men's hands are visible. There's a armed officer on each side of the car, and the light is fully on him. The hands are visible, and he's saying because he's nervous that you're giving me the idea that maybe you have a gun. And when he says how, we'll give basically asking him what gives him that impression. He says, I don't know, man. You're just, what do you say, holding yourself funny? Like,
that's what I think.
How?
I don't know. Just the way.
I mean,
just the way you're holding yourself, man.
just the way you're holding yourself. Both of your hands are visible. The way you're holding yourself. Is it the way he's sitting, his posture? Like, that's pure speculation on the officer's part. It's a personal opinion. It's not probable cause.
That's why we're nervous, man. That's it.
So that he's saying that's why they're nervous. So you pulled him over. They still haven't made clear the reason they pulled him over. You know, were the police caught him? Were they observing him? He was aware that he just left the park. They were watching him. If they were watching him and they knew he had weed or a gun, this would be a whole different stop from the get-go. They would have approached with guns out. So this isn't a felony traffic stop. He hasn't even asked for his ID at this point, yet he's already assuming that there's weed, that he has a gun. He's asked him multiple times if this car is him. Montre has repeated himself multiple times, and now the officer has jumped to the assumption that there's a gun in the car. Now, officers, in my experience, look at your nervousness as a reason or cause to be suspicious of you. As I mentioned in the beginning of the video, people of color, especially young people of color in affluent neighborhoods like this, are on edge, and when a car pulls up behind you, you already get nervous. I'm not saying this is personal experience. Me and my homies have been pulled over multiple times. It's different on the flat grounds of where we live. It's different than getting pulled over in the hills. When we get pulled over on the hills, we're much more cautious, we're much more aware, right? So because his friend is nervous, he assumes that he has a gun. But then the officer immediately admits that he himself is nervous. He says, we're nervous here. So being nervous is not a crime, first of all. And if it was, the officer would be guilty as well. Plus, these two young black men have every reason to be nervous. Now, that's not a liberal news media narrative of, oh, things happen. Two white officers just approached you and assumed you had weed and a gun in the car. And the officer just told you he's nervous and on edge. That is frightening to young black men, especially in these kinds of areas, because that is the perfect recipe for these young men to get shot. Now everybody's on edge because now this officer is telling you he's scared that you have a gun.
I mean, if you're scared because you got a little bit of weed, that'll be one thing.
See that? That's another trick. If you're scared because you got a little bit of weed, that'll be one thing. Now, when officers say that to you, when they say, we're not here for weed, or we're not worried about your weed, if you have some, it's okay. That's another trick. If they're trying to get you to admit guilt. So this is a tense situation. Now, for people from the outside looking in, if you're white or a conservative or you haven't had much police contact, you would be saying, well, why are these guys acting weird? They should just listen to the cop, just obey the cops. Cops are here to help.
I mean, if you're scared because you got a little bit of weed, that'll be one thing.
Okay. No weed.
Okay.
There's no weed. That's good. There's no weed on the floor.
Okay, so
Both men are
there's no
saying
shake on
that.
the floor? Okay.
He's just asking again.
And you don't have any weapons on you, you said?
That is correct.
Okay, do you have your ID on you?
Oh, now he finally asked for his ID. We're 2 minutes into the stop on the 12th question. Now he wants to see the ID. Be careful, don't reach too fast, brother. You know, see. Now, if you black and you raised in the hood, a lot of your parents had that talk with you. That when cops, this is the perfect situation where the talk applies, right? The talk that a lot of kids went through at their adolescent age. It's like, when you're in this position, do not reach for your ID really fast. Be super slow. Be super all this. Now, this guy, in order to comply, reached for his ID pretty fast. And you got to be careful with that. This officer doesn't seem to really be in fear of his life. Give him his ID. And he looks at the officer like, what? And look at his face. And see, his face, look. Again, for people from the outside looking in saying, oh, just get over, oh, this and that. Look at these brothers, man. They feel prosecuted. They don't feel safe. They feel nervous. And yeah.
Okay.
And he takes
You
a
don't
breath.
got no weapons on you?
There's no weapon. See, and now you're starting to see the cop's intention show, right? Because he keeps asking about guns and weed.
Go ahead and step out, Montre.
He's asking him.
Yep, I just told you why.
Uh-oh.
3 times. You want me to recap again?
3 times. I told you 3 times. Because, oh, he said because I smell weed. Now, unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, if cops pull that on you, brothers, If cops pull that on you, unfortunately, it may be just best to comply with the order at this time. Like some of the OGs told me, you don't fight them in the streets, you fight them in court. So even though you think this is unlawful and out of pocket, it's kind of best just to step out the car right now.
Officer, look, my hands is up.
Yep, your hands are up, and now I'm asking you to step out of the car.
I gave you my ID.
You gave me your ID.
Go run it.
Yep, I don't want to. I'm not walking away from this car.
Okay, so he said, go run my ID. That means he doesn't have any fear of any warrants or anything attached to his names. That's showing transparency. This officer says, I'm not about to leave this car. You took his keys. You took his keys. He does not have his keys. He cannot drive away. He has a partner who could easily stay and watch the car. But this officer is obviously escalating this traffic stop.
Officer,
It is within the officer's right to ask
Because I
him to
just
go.
told you, step out of the car. If you don't want to go to jail.
And so he's asking, officer, can you tell me why? And he's saying, well, I just told you, step out of the car. He's not telling him he still hasn't told him why he's getting pulled over, what's the reason for the stop, what's the reasonable suspicion, anything.
If you don't want to go to jail, I would expect you to please listen. I mean, I told you I'm a cop. Face the car when you step out. Face the car when you step out. Face the car when you step out. Don't flex. Don't flex. I don't know what you're doing, man, but you need to knock that off. Stop pulling on your arms.
See, now this, I've been through this and I've seen this multiple times. This brother here is obviously nervous. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. In my experience, and this has happened to me before, this man has every reason to be nervous. Okay? This cop is insinuating there's a gun in his car based on his own reasons. He's accused him multiple times that there's weed in the car. Or, excuse me, he said that it smells of weed in the car. Yeah, he said there's shake on the floor. And now this officer is pulling him out of his car after he's been complicit. And he's not even told him why he's getting pulled over. So when he gets out, I would expect that he would be nervous. He might be breathing irregularly. His heart might be beating fast. And of course, he's pulling up his pants every time I get when you get out of the car and your pants may be sagging, you got to pull them up. As soon as he reaches to pull up his pants, this cop gets super nervous and grabs his hands, puts his hands behind his back. And so now the cop is getting more nervous. Now, this is that cycle of escalation that is at the heart of a lot of police stops that go wrong. I'm cringing watching this, y'all.
Stop pulling on your arms.
Stop pulling on your arm.
What's going on, dude?
What's going on, dude, is I've been stopped without being told a reason by 2 white cops in the Goonies in an all-white area. You're now rubbing all over me, searching me. You say that you think my friend's got a gun and you've accused me of crimes. What do you mean what's going on? You need to tell me what's going on. That's what I'm trying to figure out what's going on. Pull the boy pants down.
Where are you trying to go? What are you doing, dude?
Officer, I'm not doing nothing.
Officer, I'm not doing that.
Okay. Well, you're making me think something funny's going on.
Now you're making me think something's funny coming on. Now he's cuffing him.
You're not under arrest. You're like pulling away like you're gonna do something silly.
See,
I don't want.
now, this man feels like his rights are being violated. This is where he can start to get upset. You see him kind of talking back to the officer now. He has every right to express himself, but at the same time, you got to understand that this cop can use that and say he's belligerent, he's being non-compliant, whatever, and the officer can escalate it. So even though I feel him, trust me, brother, I feel you. But if he starts to escalate, if he starts to get mad and argue, now people from the outside looking in are going to say, oh, he should have just complied. Why are you talking back, this and that? The cops are just doing their job. When flip the situation, even conservatives are one of the first people to stand up when they think their rights are being violated and when the Constitution is being trampled on. And they will voice their opinions. But unfortunately, in this situation, often outside looking in, these guys are being told to just shut up and take it from the police, no matter what the police do. So it's unfortunate. But as much as he wants to speak up for his rights, if he will, I'm afraid that if he starts to talk back to the police and escalate his voice, they're going to have a reason to escalate this, and he could possibly get hurt, injured, or arrested and killed by the police. And you think I'm being dramatic, but okay, let's keep it rolling.
Something silly. I don't want that. What?
Nothing.
what?
I'm not even gonna.
Okay. Well, you're not under arrest,
See?
man.
See, that's what he's smart. You know, see this, he good. And that's a good point to take away from this. He started getting upset. He knew his rights were being violated. He felt very uncomfortable with the situation. But he stopped. He thought about it. He said, you know what? I'm nothing. Nothing. See, now I'm pretty sure that his parents had to talk with him because he's doing everything that we're taught in the talk. He's keeping his hands visible. And even though his instinct is to defend himself and his constitutional rights, he just, you know what? I'm not going to argue. I'm not going to say nothing, officer. Nothing. It's unfortunate, but...
Man, we're just trying to figure out what's going on.
Okay, sure.
Okay, sure. See, you're doing the right
Okay,
thing.
so slide over. I mean, your heart is thumping, dude. Like, you're beating.
Why do you think, officer? Why do you think his heart is thumping and beating? When you just handcuffed him, took him out of his car, he doesn't know the reason he's being stopped, all of these things, and you're getting more suspicious because he's nervous of y'all.
Officer, don't, please don't.
Don't what?
He said, officer, don't. Please
So,
don't.
I think that your buddy has a gun, so I need you to step in the car.
You think my
Step
buddy
in.
has a gun?
He's acting funny. Step in the car.
He's acting funny. And by the officer's accounts, Montre is acting funny too. Because his heart is beating, because his body language is nervous, they're acting funny. When this is a scary situation for young black men. And you can bring up any media narrative you want in this situation. We're talking about how people feel where the rubber meets the road. And look at his reaction and look what he's going through. Now, if this was a proud conservative American, would we be defending him? Would we be saying these cops are supporting a fascist state and this man has rights and this and that? But because he's a young black man, we're saying don't argue, just comply. So now I can tell that he's getting agitated because the officer's biases and assumptions are coming to the forefront. He hasn't told him why he's pulling him over, and now he's throwing all these stereotypical claims. I think your buddy has a gun. I think there's weed in the car. You're acting funny. This guy has every reason to be nervous, but he's starting to talk back a little bit now. Let's see what happens.
So I need you to step in the car.
You think my buddy has a gun?
He's acting funny. Step in the car.
He's acting.
Please,
Officer,
if you don't step in the car, you're going to jail for sure.
Okay, that's
So
fine,
step in the
officer.
car. So step in the car.
Listen.
I'm done listening. I just told you. I think that your buddy has a gun. Now knock it off.
Okay. He wanted to voice. He didn't want to put his feet in the car because once you put your feet in the car, you're handcuffed and that door is closed. There is no guarantee that you are coming out of that car. The next time you exit that car, you might be going to jail. That car may be towed, and your buddy may be, it's a tough situation. So I understand why he didn't want to put his feet in the car. But once the officer grabbed his feet, he did not resist. You see, he just let his feet come up off the ground. I think that's important because, well, let's continue.
Now knock it off.
So his buddy's hands are in the air and the partner's checking him.
Can you spread your feet just a
He's
little
got
bit?
nothing, he's clean.
Okay. Alright, come back and stand with me, okay?
Come back and
You
stand
don't
with
have to run from me, are you?
You're not gonna run from me, are you? For what? You thought I had a gun, I didn't have no gun. These officers don't understand they're acting from bias. Now, let's see. So he's looking around. So now he has the reason to search his car. Searching all through this man's stuff. He got some Gatorade, a couple snacks. We're gonna skip forward a little bit. Headphones, them Dre's, them Beats. Went through his glove compartment box. What they drinking on? Some Burger King. Burger King. Snickers? Is that Snickers? Oh, no. That's a Score bar or something. Checking his vehicle. Gonna smell it. Smell the jar to see what was in it. See if it's some weed. Oh, there goes some Swishers. But, like he said, that was tobacco on the floor. Okay, that was from breaking down the Swisher. But no weed. So let's keep going. More Swishers. So perhaps it did smell like weed in there. Cheetos. Alright. So, just to break it down, it's wise to get out of the car when they say that. If you don't have any weed in the car, or anything you're afraid of them finding, then if they use that probable cause, oh, he found a bottle. Found a bottle. What's that? Found a bottle. It was not. It's okay. Searching his trunk. Boy, that trunk is immaculate, clean. That boy had nothing in that trunk. Oh, it's a rental. I'm like, okay. So the officer found the bottle, which was tucked under the seat. The officer could not have seen or known that when he pulled him over. So honestly, the officer can't use that as a justification for pulling him over. There's no reason to suspect that the officer knew that was in there. All right, he's going back. Let's see what happens.
How old are you, Montre? You supposed to be
March 25th, 1995.
you supposed to be drinking in the park there?
Officer, officer, that's just in there, okay? There was no gun, there was no weapon to harm you, officer. We didn't do anything wrong. We stopped at the stoplight. We pulled over when you pulled over. I did everything you asked me to, officer.
Right.
You thought there was a weapon? There's no weapon. We
Nope.
wasn't doing anything wrong,
Nope.
officer. I'm not sure why you pulled me over. That's a rental. Everything is fine. There was no breaking taillight or nothing, officer. I did nothing wrong with you.
He going through it.
You've got for the night. You might try calling a cell phone. Happy, thank you.
That was good. That was real good. Partner handed in his ID. He being real calm. He's staying collected. Obviously, he's stressed out. This is some annoying shit.
How's your day going, officer?
I'm good, brother.
That's good, man.
If I take them handcuffs off you, can you dump out that bottle of alcohol for me?
He's good. He said, "How's your day going, officer?" So this guy is, even though he's in the back of the police car feeling violated, he is still making peaceable conversation to de-escalate things and create kind of a personal bond between him and the cops. Plus, he's also scanning the cop's intentions. If the cop has a messed up response or attitude, then he's gonna know this cop, you know. So he's kind of gauging his.
If I take them handcuffs off you, can you dump out that bottle of alcohol for me?
I could do it anytime, officer.
Is that good?
Yeah, of course it
You
is.
good? We straight? Okay. So here's the deal. Like, you and I know. I mean, let's start over. Let's roll with each other. Did I make anything up when I said the car smelled like marijuana?
See, we was getting to a good point, but now here, this is dangerous right here. Remember, a cop is not your friend. Every legal expert will tell you, no matter what situation you're in, is you don't give up information willingly to the police. They're not your friends. They're not here to help you. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. It's common knowledge. So when they say, "Hey, just be real with me. Be real with me."
Yeah, a little bit.
He said, "Yeah, a little bit."
Hold on.
Because there was nobody smoking in the
Is
car.
there marijuana shake on the floor of the car?
Officer, that was cigarette ash, okay? There's no, you didn't find no
He said,
marijuana.
"Officer, that was
I'm
cigarette
not
ashes,
touching the
okay?"
marijuana. But here's what. If you want me to be real with you, like I want you to be real with me for a second. Like, did I make that up? You know what I mean? Did I make it up?
I believe so, officer.
Okay, so you want me to just write you the ticket for the stuff that I had to write you tickets for? If you think that I'm lying, like, then we'll go to.
That was smart. See, that's smart and risky, right? Because when a cop asks you something like that, what they're really trying to do is get you to give unsolicited. They're looking for an admission of guilt. Even if it's an informal admission of guilt, everything you say, they are writing down. When you go to court, you're going to see these questions that you thought were just him shooting, making small talk, and your answers are going to be in there. That's what they do.
Did I make it up?
I believe so, officer.
Okay, so you want me?
He said, "I believe so, officer," and that's good. He's not admitting guilt, But it's also tricky because while you're standing up for yourself, while you don't want to admit guilt, sometimes a legal expert will tell you the best thing to do is just be quiet completely, because what you're saying is being written down. Plus, the other thing is this officer can get butthurt and trigger that authority complex where they want to show you your place. And did you just call me a liar? And they can try to make your life more difficult, especially when they start up with, hey, quid pro quo, do this for me, I'll do this for you. Be cool with me, I'll be real with you. Like, when officers say that, bruh, it's never in your advantage to trust them. Any cop themselves will tell you that. We're trying to get information for the report.
Okay, so you want me to just write you the ticket for the stuff that I had to write you tickets for? If you think that I'm lying, like, then we'll go to court and we'll talk about it then.
Okay.
Or do you want to just be real with me and I'll be real with you?
Wow.
Right?
I would like to pull out my alcoholic reaction to officer. You didn't find anything, we wasn't doing anything, officer.
Smart.
So you're not going to admit that you maybe were around people smoking or something like that?
You're not gonna admit that you may be around people smoking like that. Why would he? Why would he? If you had the evidence you needed, if you found the weed in the car that you said was in there, that you said you saw weed on the floor, then you wouldn't be asking him to snitch on himself, right? So if a cop found that weed, he wouldn't be asking you, is there weed in the car? So right now you're in the clear. If you admit, yeah, I was with, then you're done, son. So he's smart. He just repeated the givens. Look, you didn't find this and this and this, blah, blah, blah. So he's smart. He not.
Were you around anybody smoking?
Cigarettes.
That's it.
Officer, there's no weed shake on there's no weed shake on the floor, officer.
See, and that's another smart thing he did is he rephrased the officer's question only as it applies to him in the situation he's in. Were you around anybody smoking? Officer, there's no weed shake on the floor. Period. I mean, don't even answer his question like that. Like, the way he answered his question was perfect. If you're gonna speak at all, answer it like that. If he would have said something like, "Oh, I was around," or people, that would have been in the report. So that was a very smart answer. If you're not gonna plead a fifth, that's a good way to do it. Rephrase the question clearly and answer it directly. To the side.
Step out. Face the car.
Opening the door. Unhandcuffing him. Good job, brother. You remain cool and collected. He didn't admit and go. He let you go. And so the officer, I guess, stood by his word that he wasn't under arrest. I mean, obviously he didn't have the right to, but cops could still do too much, and this cop is at least standing by his word and releasing him. We can't hear what they're saying.
Right. Usually when we see that, with somebody sitting there like that, like there's a gun, right? Where you know what I mean? Like, I'm telling you, like that's what happens. That's the only reason that happened. Is because like you were just making it seem like something crazy is going on when it could have just been something little as that, or like a bag or something. Like we jump automatically to what?
Yeah, I already know.
Do you have any questions?
Why the fuck did you pull me over in the first place? But they just trying to. They're like, no, peace. We already got the W, so why?
I feel like I was missing.
So all in all, those brothers handled it really well. They remained calm and collected. When they wanted to argue, when they felt like they were being violated or was unfair, they voiced their concerns to a point, but then they did not escalate it when the officer became escalated. Montre reached out to make personal connections with the officer to make things a little bit more personal, and noticed that when Montre did that, even in the heat of the situation, the cop offered to take the handcuffs off. So it's always a good reason to try to be better than the police. If you feel like the police tripping, try to be better. Even though you're really tempted to want to fight back in the streets, just remember that it is being recorded. Hopefully it is. With these days, body cams and cell phone cameras are much more. You will be vindicated. It turns out that after this case, Montrell and his friend were awarded $75,000 by the city. So keep a cool head. The more you think the officers are tripping and in the wrong, the better you should be, because you're gonna get paid. You're gonna get paid. And so that's why this is that conservative versus liberal discussion. Is there racism in America? Is there institutional racism? Now, if the captain and the sergeant and the police chief are racist, but the police department, you know, the charter and the laws aren't particularly racist, it's tough for people in this situation, because it doesn't matter if a conservative person thinks this is an institutionally racist country, or if just those people in those organizations are racist. It doesn't matter for these two brothers in the car. This was a racial profiling situation. Still, by the end of the stop, they were never told what they were pulled over for the reasonable suspicion in the first place. The officer shook his hand afterwards, and he tried to explain to him, when people are usually sitting like that, there's a gun. Now, from this perspective, from my perspective, and probably those guys, that seems out of pocket. I'm not discounting the officer's personal experience. I'm not discounting his personal experience. He may have found guns in those situations, but it's almost like, it's kind of like a stereotype, right? Like, oh, black people usually do this, so of course I had to treat you like you did this. You know what I mean? So those brothers both did a really good job for remaining calm and not escalating the situation, and they were rewarded $25,000 each, and I think $25,000 went to the law firm that represented them. They got their money in the end. So to my brothers out there, the way you win is not by resisting in the streets. You know what I'm saying? It's tough because you get in that car, your car is gone, all the personal belongings you had in that car is gone. You have to pay thousands of dollars to get it back. You may spend hours or even a couple of days in jail. And even on a traffic stop like this, we got to remember Sandra Bland. You know what I'm saying? She was a non-felony traffic stop just like this, and because of her unwillingness to submit to the officer's attitude, she was taken to prison. She was taken to jail unjustly, and she never made it out. She never made it out. So just because you're not doing anything wrong, does not mean you don't have any cause to be nervous. But this has happened to me before. My partners was nervous before, and the cops took that as suspicion and searched the car. There was nothing in there, and they said, well, why were you nervous, man? And this is why. When you think of cases like Sandra Bland, when you think of other cases, I'm not talking about cases where people actively resist. I'm talking about when you just go along with it. So they did a good job. These cops, I don't think these cops did a very good job, because as far as I'm concerned, they never told them why they were pulling them over, what was their reasonable suspicion, whether they had a call or not. For all intensive purposes, these cops could have just pulled these guys over because they were black in an affluent area. They were chilling at a park in an affluent area, and if there was reasonable suspicion, the cops did not tell them, you know? So I don't think these cops did a great job. They kind of escalated the situation, made everybody much more nervous and on edge. So to citizens watching this, I hate to say it, but just remember, you fight them in the courts, not on the streets. If all is well, you will be paid. You will be paid, and at least those officers will be penalized, and that will be on their records. To some degree, you have to have faith in the American justice system, that it will vindicate you if you're not doing anything wrong. So these brothers were rewarded with $25,000 each. And unfortunately, when there's a BLM protest and there's city damage, conservatives will be the first thing to say, look, you just cost your city $1 million, because in this case right here was $75,000. A lot of these cases where cops are doing racial profiling or unjust policing or excessive force, it's costing the cities millions of dollars a year, but nobody talks about that. That's how much it costs to just sweep these things under the rugs and give police officers a tap on the wrist. So when we talk about what it's costing cities, let's talk about what it's costing in settlements for these cases where police are doing wrong. So overall, great job on the brothers. Police, you need to do better.